We could call it a homecoming. Or homeward bound, maybe? Just play along for a bit, okay? Can I have one? Can I?
There's a moment in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that breaks a lot of people's brains. Zack survives. He carries Cloud across a ruined world. He protects Aerith. He sacrifices everything. And then, somehow, Aerith's heart still drifts toward Cloud. On the surface, that feels like straight-up NTR. The guy who lived, fought, and suffered gets his girlfriend emotionally taken by the comatose blonde with the great hair. So here are several things I want to explore today. Why so many players think Zack got NTR'd. Why Aerith still gravitates toward Cloud even in a world where Zack lives. Why Aerith feels older and more tragic in the Zack timeline. Why Zack accepts Aerith's feelings for Cloud so quickly. And finally, what Zack is actually feeling when he chooses to save Cloud anyway. By the end, I want to show you this. Zack is not being NTR'd. What's happening to him is actually way more tragic and way more beautiful. Why it feels like NTR. Let's start with the emotional gut reaction. In the Zack-Survives world, it looks like this. Zack doesn't die on that hill. He survives the Shinra ambush. He drags Cloud's broken body for who knows how long. He gets to the church. He reaches Aerith. He keeps fighting to protect both of them. In this reality, Aerith never had her classic meet cute with Cloud in the church. She isn't the girl who looked up and saw a spiky-haired merc lying in her flowers. She's Zack's girlfriend. Zack is the one who's physically present. Zack is the one doing the work, carrying the weight, literally and metaphorically. And yet, while Zack is out on missions, or away trying to fix this broken world, we see Cloud and Aerith sharing moments. We see them on what looks like a date. We see them connecting emotionally. We see Aerith's attention, her sadness, her feelings circling around Cloud. From a surface level, real-world logic, your boyfriend survives. He carries you and your comatose friend to safety. He's the one suffering, bleeding, fighting, and then your heart drifts toward the guy who's barely even awake. Yeah, that sounds like NTR, and a lot of people stop there. But the moment you actually look at the structure of Rebirth's timelines, everything changes because all of that logic assumes one thing that is completely wrong, that there is only one timeline, and that everyone is sharing the same reality. The key thing everyone misses. Enix did not just create one alternate timeline where Zack lives. They created multiple overlapping world lines that sometimes visually intersect, but are not synchronized in time, space, or causality. So, let's simplify it. Timeline A, the main Rebirth timeline. This is the one you actually play in. Zack is dead, just like in the OG and in Remake. Cloud escapes Shinra alone. He wanders to Midgar. He meets Aerith in the church on the flower bed. He joins Avalanche. The story unfolds the way we're used to, with all the new twists layered on top. This is the Cloud you control. This is the Aerith you grow attached to. This is the emotional core of Rebirth. Timeline B, the Zack-Survives. This is the world born when the Whispers are destroyed at the end of Remake. Zack survives the Shinra ambush. Cloud is completely wrecked, barely conscious, never becoming the fake soldier persona we know. Zack brings Cloud to Aerith, but Aerith doesn't react like she knows him. Because in this world, that Aerith never met Cloud in the church. Zack becomes the active protector. Cloud is more like a burden he's carrying. Here's the key. Zack is dragging around in his arms is not the same Cloud you are playing in the main story, and the Aerith standing in that church with Zack is not the Aerith who went on a journey with Cloud in Midgar and beyond. So why do we see Cloud and Aerith interacting across these worlds? Because Rebirth introduces something you could call cross-stream perception. Aerith, as a Cetra, can sense multiple timelines at once. She can see flashes of events from other worlds. Cloud sometimes sees her glitch between realities. You, the player, see them overlap visually, but narratively, they're not actually meeting in one shared physical space. They're seeing echoes of each other. That's why, if you try to treat Rebirth like a normal, single-track story, it feels like Aerith is cheating on Zack with a guy she never had time to meet, but once you accept that Timeline A and Timeline B are separate and we're watching their edges collide, the NTR reading already starts to fall apart. Because the Cloud Aerith falls for is the Cloud from the main timeline, the one who met her in the church, traveled with her, and changed beside her, not the unconscious one Zack is carrying. Why Aerith still chooses Cloud, even when Zack lives now? We have to tackle the uncomfortable emotional part, even if we accept the timelines are separate. Why does Aerith's heart still gravitate toward Cloud? Why does it feel like she's moving on from Zack? To answer this, we need to talk about Aerith herself. Not as an icon, not as nostalgia, but as a person. Most people remember Aerith as bright, playful, hopeful teasing, the sweet girl from Crisis Core, the flower girl from Midgar, Zack's first love, but that version of her is gone. By the time of Remake and Rebirth, Aerith has seen too much. She has glimpsed multiple futures, felt her own death, carried knowledge she can't fully express, accepted a fate she knows she might not escape. Every joke is hiding fear. Every playful line is covering terror. Every time she encourages Cloud, she's actually begging him not to vanish from her life. She's not a carefree girl waiting at a church anymore. She's a woman carrying timelines inside her, and the relationships from her past, including Zack, belong to that earlier version of who she was. Zack represents her first love, her innocent days, the life she might have had if nothing went wrong. But the problem is, everything did go wrong. Aerith in Rebirth is heavier, wiser, and more burdened. She doesn't need someone to pull her out of her shell anymore. She became the light for everyone else. She became the center of the group. What she needs now is someone who understands silence doesn't demand that she stay cheerful, can sit with her in fear without collapsing. That's where Cloud comes in. When Cloud meets Aerith in the main timeline, he doesn't know she's the last Cetra. He doesn't know she is carrying a prophecy. He doesn't understand the scale of what she's facing. He just sees a strange girl selling flowers, a girl who smiles to hide how scared she is, a girl who clearly knows more than she lets on. And instead of worshiping her or romanticizing her, he does something simple. He treats her like a person. He doesn't chase her, he doesn't put her on a pedestal, he doesn't try to save her destiny. He gives her space, real, quiet space, to exist without being the planet's last hope. He notices when she's afraid, he softens when she speaks, he reads the pauses between her jokes. That's what I argued in my other video about why Cloud, not Zack, is the one who fits the woman Aerith becomes. If you want the full breakdown, I'll link that elsewhere, but here's the short version. Zack matches who Aerith was. Cloud matches who Aerith is now. So, even across timelines, even across fractured realities, her feelings echo in one direction, toward the person who can carry the weight of who she's become. And that's Cloud. Now let's talk about something a little wilder. The signs that the worlds themselves are starting to merge. On a second playthrough, a lot of players notice weird visual details that don't line up cleanly with separate timelines. For example, in Zack's world, we see a certain version of the stamp dog, the terrier. In the main world earlier, we're used to a different design, but later, on the road to Upper Junon, the wrong stamp variant appears in the main timeline's environment. During the Gold Saucer chase with Kate Sith, you can spot both Terrier Stamp and Beagle Stamp posters, like both realities are bleeding into one shared backdrop. It feels like the game is quietly saying, these worlds are not cleanly separated anymore, they are bleeding together. Then there are the broadcasts. In Chapter 1, when Zack is chasing after Aerith, a Shinra helicopter broadcasts a line about an Avalanche member, former soldier with a Buster Sword, possibly hiding near the accident site. Are they talking about Zack? Or are they talking about Cloud? Then in Chapter 2, Cloud wakes up in calm, walks downstairs, and hears the exact same broadcast with the same voice, the same line. Two different men, same words, same world event, echoing across two realities. Look from Calm out toward Midgar. You see the damage from the tornado-like disaster, hitting zones 0 through 3. It looks identical in both contexts. It's almost like the destruction happened, but which exact timeline you're in doesn't fully matter anymore. And then there's the church. Stack all these details together and it starts to feel like this. Maybe the church Zack ends up in at the very end isn't a totally separate universe. Maybe it's a point where his broken reality and the main world are starting to overlap, not just spiritually, physically. If that's true, then we're not watching Zack's closed private universe. We're watching a world fragment that's slowly being folded back into the main line. And if the worlds are merging, then what we're seeing isn't NTR, it's convergence. Aerith's memories from the Cloud timeline bleeding into the Zack world. Cloud's existence casting a shadow where he shouldn't logically exist, and all of that landing right in Zack's face. Why Marlene recognizes Cloud in the Zack timeline. This brings us to one of the most confusing moments, Marlene recognizing Cloud in the Zack-Lives timeline. Even though that Aerith never met him, and Cloud never became the main protagonist there. This feels like a massive plot hole, unless you remember who Marlene is. Marlene has always been spiritually sensitive. In the OG and in the new trilogy, she senses the life stream. She knows Aerith is different. She reacts to danger and anomalies before adults do. She feels things she shouldn't be able to know. So in Zack's timeline, when Marlene reacts to Cloud, she isn't doing it, she's reacting to something else. Because the Zack world is not a stable, independent universe. It's a broken reflection created when the Whispers were destroyed. It copies, it borrows, it inherits memories and emotional imprints from the main timeline. So, Marlene is basically picking up emotional radio signals from the timeline where Cloud did exist in her life, Aerith did talk about him, and their connection meant everything. She isn't recognizing this Cloud. She's sensing Aerith's Cloud as the man tied to Aerith's heart across worlds. That's why it feels wrong and right at the same time. The universe itself is contaminated. Why Aerith feels older and more tragic with Zack. Now let's go back to Aerith in the Zack world. Why does she feel older? Her voice is calmer, her eyes look sadder, her presence feels heavier. This is not the same girl who waited for Zack and wrote him letter after letter. The reason is simple and devastating. The Aerith we see with Zack is carrying the emotions and memories of the main Cloud timeline. She has already seen her own death, already accepted her role in stopping Meteor, already fallen in love with Cloud in another branch, already lived through the weight of being the last Cetra. Even if this specific Aerith didn't live all those moments linearly, her soul remembers. So when Zack comes back, expecting the girl he left behind, he finds someone who has lived an entire lifetime of grief without him. Her heart is split between timelines pulled toward Cloud, pulled toward her duty, weighed down by guilt. She can't give Zack the simple future. They imagined she might die in another world, and that death might matter more than the life she could have here. That's why she feels older. She isn't just existing in one world, she's bearing two. Why Zack accepts Aerith's feelings so quickly. Here's the scene that makes everyone say, wait, why did Zack accept that so fast? Shouldn't he be furious, confused, demanding answers? That reaction only makes sense if you think Zack is reacting with pure logic. He isn't. By the time he confronts Aerith, Zack already knows something is wrong with reality. He's seen the world looking physically damaged in ways that don't align with his memories. Aerith acting like she knows things he can't understand. He's a soldier, not a philosopher. But he's not stupid. So when Aerith's feelings for Cloud surface, Zack isn't thinking, but you never met this guy. That's impossible. He's thinking, of course, that's what you were carrying this whole time. He already sensed her grief. He already sensed her distance. He already knew something inside her was beyond him. Her love for Cloud just puts a name on it. He also realizes something even harsher. This Aerith is not his Aerith anymore. The girl he left behind died with the old timeline. The woman in front of him has lived a different emotional life, one he never shared. So Zack's reaction is fast, yes, but it's not shallow. It's the reaction of someone who has already suspected the truth, loves her enough not to argue with her heart, and respects that her path has moved beyond what he can reach. It's not defeat, it's acceptance. What Zack feels when he still chooses to save Cloud. So what is Zack actually feeling when he hears that Aerith loves Cloud and still chooses to save Cloud's life? It's not NTR rage, it's not jealousy, it's not humiliation, it's heartbreak filtered through love. First, there's confusion and recognition, so that's why you seem so far away. Then, there's grief. The future I imagined with you is gone. But immediately after that comes something that defines Zack as a character. He chooses compassion over ego. He looks at Cloud, broken, helpless, barely conscious, completely unaware of the emotional storm around him. Cloud didn't steal anything. Cloud is a victim of Shinra, of Sephiroth, of fate. Zack can't hate him. If anything, he feels responsible for him. And then there's the deeper layer. Zack senses that Cloud is tied to Aerith's destiny in a way he can't explain. If Cloud is important to Aerith, across worlds, across timelines, across deaths, then protecting Cloud becomes an extension of loving Aerith. Saving Cloud becomes Zack's way of saying, if he matters to you, then I'll protect him too. That's why he doesn't break. That's why he doesn't turn bitter. That's why he keeps going. Zack doesn't lose to Cloud. He steps aside for the person Aerith's heart has already chosen across the multiverse. And that is so much more tragic and more mature than any cheap NTR reading. So, did Zack get NTR'd? If you look at Rebirth like a normal romance in a single straight line, it absolutely looks like NTR. Guy survives, guy suffers, girl chooses someone else. But once you understand that there are multiple timelines, that Cloud and Zack are not the same Cloud, that Aerith carries memories across worlds, that the universes are merging and contaminating each other, that Marlene and Aerith are spiritually aware, and that Zack is watching a woman he loves become someone he can't follow. Zack isn't being cucked. He's being left behind by destiny. Aerith doesn't abandon him for the hotter new guy. She grows into someone whose path, trauma, and responsibility pull her toward Cloud. And Zack, being who he is, does the only thing he knows how to do. He accepts her truth. He protects the world she cares about. He saves the man her heart is tied to. Not because he's weak, but because his love is strong enough to survive not being chosen. That's not NTR. That's tragedy. That's sacrifice. And that's Zack fair.